Our founding fathers here in this country brought about the only true revolution that has ever taken place in man's history. Evolved the idea that you and I have within ourselves the God-given right and the ability to determine our own destiny.
The United States of America, the greatest nation in history, ordained by our founders to be guided by divine providence. But today, we are witnessing the orchestrated disintegration of America. Take a few seconds and take a look around your town, your state, look at your country and your world, and boldly ask, what in the hell is going on?
But freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
Welcome to the podcast Project Third Eye Opened, where we dare to question with boldness the events that are unfolding around us that others won't. At the end of the day, it is we the people who will decide the destiny of the nation. Now, introducing your host, Tony L.
Greetings, America. This is Tony L, and this is a very, very special podcast and social media production. Like always, I always want to give thanks to the Most High, for without Him, I would not be doing this. I would not be would have been born in this greatest country on the planet. And of course, I will not be here sharing this with you. These are very, 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 very challenging times in which we are currently living and existing. And it's getting even more and more challenging and exciting each day. But I know that it's going to be all right. If you haven't had the opportunity to check out my homepage, definitely would highly appreciate you doing so. During these very, very challenging periods that we are now going through, definitely have always, and we continue to encourage y'all to get your hands on some real money, i.e. gold and silver, some precious metal. Go check out my website. There's a special offering there for all of my listeners to purchase gold or silver, coins, bars, or whichever, or even just refer to your friends and family and earn some extra money that way as well. But definitely we always recommend get some real money, because things are changing and Trump is trying to let everybody know that things are changing. I wish he was more articulate in his letting people know that things are changing, but Trump is Trump. He's not Reagan when it comes to oratory skills, but things are changing, and you need to have your hands on some real money. Preferably gold, because that's going through the roof now. But if not gold, get the poor man's gold. Get silver. Get it. Not saying break your piggy bank, but diversify. Have some on hand. So when things do go south economically, that you have a good backup plan. Again, go to my website, check it out. Just get informed. Look at, because this is my birthday year, 1960. Look at what an ounce of gold was compared to $1 back in 1960 or 65. And then do a calculation and how much that gold would be worth and how much that dollar would be worth. Just do that. Let's do that. I'm not gonna go into much of that because maybe I need to do another program on gold and silver and real money in the comparison. But that's for another day. Now, this is the third installment of Rules for Radicals, talking and examining the huge effect that Saul Alinsky and his theology and tactics have had on not just the American political system, but the Western world in particular political system, how the political system works, how politicians communicate their message to the people, and particularly those on the left. This man has been instrumental in literally redefining political communication from the political creatures to the masses. And I'm examining how particularly this has come through one of his most famous students, Barack Obama, then Biden, and then Trump. And what I'm pointing out is the different application of his techniques from those who are on the left political spectrum and those who are on the right, particularly Trump. And this wants you to look at how his tactics are applied. And it's vastly different. My humble opinion, the left uses tactics to mentally manipulate the minds of the American people to the negative and to degrade the country. Where people, in particular, Trump, use it, number one, to defend himself against the tactics from the left. But it's never to denigrate the country. It's always specifically to, one, to get his message out, and two, to repel or defend himself against the tactics from the left. That's just how I see it. And you may see it differently, but got two more installments. So let's go on, because we ended with Rule 6. If you're just catching us now on Rule 7, definitely recommend you going back to the beginning. If you didn't catch that one, and catch up with us, because it's very, very fascinating. This is why I did it. Very fascinating. So let's see. So you have number 6, a tactic that drags on tactics that drag on too long becomes a drag. Don't become old news. Even radical activists get bored. So to keep them excited and involved, organizers are constantly coming up with new tactics. This is Obama. How did he use this tactic? Obama did it by moving beyond hope and change. Example, transitioning from inspiration to attack politics. And this came, of course, going into his second term, 2008 into 2012. In 2008, Barack's campaign was centered around hope and change, unity, attracting a massive and energized base. But in 2012, the excitement around hope and change had faded, and Obama's team pivoted to a new strategy. Attack ads on Romney, branding him as an out-to-lunch elitist. 47% remarked blinders full of women. Binders full of women. The message shifted from inspiration to we are fighting for the middle class. Right? Remember that? This change when reinvigorated Democrats who might have voted otherwise and lost interest. How did this work? He recognized that hope and change alone would not work twice. Shifted to a new strategy that energized voters in a different way. Prevented supporter fatigue by adapting tactics to the new election cycle. But again, you notice he went from hope and change to not more of a positive message for the country. Because he could have did that. He could have did that, right? Clinton did, right? He could have been more, again, positive message, better for the country, how his policies would, reinvigorate the middle class, bring more jobs. No, went to attacking his opponent. Nothing about him. Wonder why. Why did he run on? I'm going to say that marriage has no definition. It could be whatever you want it to be. He didn't run on that. I wonder why he didn't run on that. I wonder why, right? So let's look at how did Biden use this tactic number 7. Biden's administration was looking at pivoting from Trump criticism to policy wins. Example, from anti-Trump messages to Bidenomics. But at least, I guess you could say he at least tried to do positive as far as economics, right? Even though it's Bidenomics, and we all know how that worked out. So using this tactic, Biden won largely by running on not Trump, focusing on restoring quote unquote normalcy. I did the quote unquote normalcy. In 2022, being just not Trump wasn't enough. So Democrats pivoted. Again, they pivot. They pivoted from he pivoted to promoted Bidenomics as an economic success story. Pushed student loan forgiveness and infrastructure wins. Adopted dark Brandon. Again, I don't remember hearing dark Brandon. Means to refresh Biden's image. This shift helped prevent voter fatigue and keep voter support engaged. Why did this work? It recognized that bashing Trump alone wasn't sustainable. Refocused on accomplishments and new messaging. Used fresh tactics like memes to keep engagement high. Of course, the accomplishments were very, 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 very much supported by the corporate media. But they don't mention that. It wasn't just him wanting to focus on accomplishment by himself. The media helped big time in this pursuit. If Trump had that same support, it'd been a totally different story. They probably wouldn't be able to get away with what they got away with in that election. How did Trump use number 7? Trump used number 7 by changing tactics from Crooked Hillary to Stop the Steal. I guess he saw it coming. From 2016 nicknames to election conspiracies. In 2016, Trump's attack on Crooked Hillary were high energy and effective, helping him to win. In 2020, attacking Hillary was old news, so Trump pivoted. He too pivoted his tactics, focused on Hunter Biden's laptop and Biden's mental decline. He saw this even in 2020. I think we all did, those who had eyes. After the election, he abandoned traditional attacks and pivoted to stop the steal, energizing his base in a new way. His shift in messaging kept supporters engaged, preventing boredom. Why did this work? Trump didn't just repeat 2016 insults. He found fresh attacks for new opponents. The election fraud narrative replaced lock her up, keeping his movement energized. His base never got bored as new enemies, big tech, deep state, etc., were introduced. Applications totally different, right? Totally different. Let's see number 8. Number 8, keep the pressure on. Never let up. Keep trying new things to keep the opposition off balance. As the opposition masters one approach, hit them from the flank with something new. Attack from all sides. Never giving the reeling organization a chance to rest, regroup, recover, and re-strategize. Obama used a multi-front strategy against Romney in 2012. Example, economic attacks, social attacks, and 47% gaffe. Why he gonna keep going by 47%? Because Romney basically said, in regards to, I believe, the 40% of the population against the so-called rich. So basically, he was looking at, since half of the population, I think I got this right, says 47% of the population were basically less than the was wealthier than the rest of the population. Something that I don't remember the exact quote, but he was speaking kind of out of turn. But if I remember correctly, it wasn't exactly wrong, but he shouldn't maybe have said it out loud. Again, I don't remember exactly what he said, but it had something to do with more of the half and half-nots, basically. And of course, the left jumped on that as a gaffe and basically something that was spoken out loud that maybe you shouldn't have, particularly not from a multi-billionaire like Romney, right? So Obama's team in 2012 didn't just focus on one attack against Mitt Romney. It kept hitting him off balance by hitting him from multiple angles. Class welfare. Romney painted as a detached, out-of-touch billionaire. 47% of Americans see themselves as victims. That's it. 47% of Americans see themselves as victims. Gap. War on women. Attack on Romney's stance on women's rights. Binders full of women moment, quote unquote. Foreign policy. Obama mocked Romney's Cold War stance for foreign policy, especially after Romney called Russia the biggest geopolitical threat. Was he wrong? Maybe he should have said second after China, but I think that was the comeback that Obama said. Well, I guess the 1990s and 1980s need their talking points back or something like that. But basically, again, Republicans so often cede ground when they really don't need to, because again, both Biden and Obama didn't see necessarily Russia as an enemy. Definitely didn't see China as the enemy. they saw the American people as the enemy. That's a problem. And again, the Republicans could have and still can hammer that home, is that Democrats see the American people as the enemy. That would go over so well with the majority of American people. Of course, you have them that still, for whatever reason, are in denial, but their actions speak louder than their words ever can. They see the American people as the enemy, more so than China, more so than Russia. They see the American people and our activities, particularly if we see that government should be unobtrusive and small. They definitely see us as the enemy. And especially if we don't go along with their edicts. We are definitely the enemy then. Look at what happened during COVID. Look at when it comes to those who believe in religion, particularly the Christian religion. We are definitely public enemy number one in regards to the Democrat eyes. They actually say that. So I don't know why this is not picked up by the Republicans. Again, the Republicans are just in the habit of ceding ground to the Democrats, like they really, really want to lose. Move on. Every time Romney tried to recover, a new attack hit him from a different direction, making it difficult for him to reshape his message. His shift in messaging kept supporters engaged and also prevent boredom. But again, goes back to saying, each time he shifted, even though it kept his voters engaged, it also kept him off balance. Oop. Let's go back. Do that. Okay. Okay. How did this work for Biden? Again, I think I misspoke in regards to his shift his message kept his supporters engaged. But in regards to Romney, again, Republicans constantly give ground, and Romney just was kept off balance by this technique and strategy by Obama. So how does this work for Obama? Obama's team never let Romney regain footing. Each time he attacked, every time one attack settled, another took his place. Romney was forced into the defense mode for much of the campaign, limiting his ability to define his own message. By election day, his 47% comment stuck, and he never recovered. Oh, by the way, speaking of errors that I made, in the last presentation, I referred to Obama's real name in regards to the birtherism that Trump used against him, or tried to use against him, and Obama flipped it around and mocked him for it, ridiculed him for that. I said on his real birth certificate, they never presented his real birth certificate, so let me correct that. His real birth name wasn't Barack, and I said it was Harry. It wasn't Harry, it was Barry. Barry was Barack Obama's birth name. But somehow, on his birth certificate that he pulled out of his butt, supposed to be from Hawaii, had it as Barack Obama, which that was not his name. Something else I said will come to me, but that just came to me, that I said Barack, I said Harry, and it was Barry. So I definitely want to make that correction known. So moving on. Biden used tactic number 8 and keep Trump and MAGA on the defensive. shifting from Trump's a threat to MAGA extremism. Instead of just running against Trump in 2020, Biden's team broadened the attack. 2020 focused on Trump's mishandling of COVID-19. In 2022, branded MAGA Republicans as extremists and a threat to democracy. In 2024, he shifted to attacking Trump's legal troubles and insurrection ties, on January 6th. This forced Trump and Republicans into a constant defense mode, unable to escape negative press cycles. How did this rule benefit Biden? Biden's strategy evolved with the political landscape, keeping opponents constantly off balance. MAGA Republicans were pinned down, defending their past actions rather than controlling the conversation. Each time Trump's team tried to move forward, a new legal case or attack emerged. I guess that didn't work too well, obviously. But again, this was before Biden's cognitive decline became grossly apparent to the world. So again, his strategy, I don't think he would have even worked if he was, because he was losing even at the time of that debate. He was losing because people, again, it goes back to nobody was excited by Biden. Not in his first term, not coming up to his first term, definitely not coming up to the second term. Nobody was excited about Biden. So rather he got out then when his cognitive decline became grossly apparent to everyone, or somehow the media and his team was able to hide it from the American people, and somehow he was able to get to election day, I think he was still lost because nobody was excited about him or his election. So let's go to Trump. How did Trump use his tactic? The relentless assault on the media and the deep state, attacking the media, FBI, and Democrats from all sides. Did that very well. Trump used constant pressure to keep opponents off balance. Fake news. He attacked mainstream media, the enemy of the people, making them constantly defend their credibility. Deep state. He painted government agencies like FBI and DOJ as corrupt, shifting focus away from his own scandals. Democrats as radicals. He branded opponents as socialists and election thieves, forcing them to respond to attacks instead of setting their own narrative. Whenever one scandal like Russia collusion started fading, Trump's team pushed another narrative like Hunter Biden's laptop. And we still haven't really got the whole clear picture and answers in regards to that, have we? How was this used successfully by Trump? Trump's opponents never got a break. Every time they thought they had one, a new battlefront opened. Media and Democrats were always on the defensive, struggling to control the narrative. Trump's base remained energized by a never-ending war against the establishment. Number 9. The threat is usually more terrifying than the thing itself. Imagination and ego can dream up many more consequences than any activist. Perception is reality. Remember I kept mentioning that word perception, how that just kept coming up? The perception of things. And here we go. Number 9, perception is reality. Large organizations always prepare a worst case scenario, something that may be furthest from the activist minds. the upshot is that the organization will spend enormous time and energy creating its own collective mind, the diarist of conclusions. The possibilities can easily poison the mind and result in demoralization. How did Obama use this? The government shutdown of 2013, using the fear of default and pressure, using the fear of default to pressure to the Republicans. In 2013, Republicans in Congress threatened to shut down the government over Obamacare's funding. Remember, this inspired the Tea Party. Obama's administration turned the situation against them by making the consequences of default seem catastrophic. Warnings that the U.S. economy would collapse, predictions of massive job losses and market crashes, constant media coverage about the impending disaster. Again, the media always promote the side of the left. Always. They don't even try to hide their biasness anymore. Since Obama, they don't even try to hide their biasness. And it's really remarkable that they are still in business and that they still hold even a thread of credibility. But people just can't cut their biblical cord from maybe the Walter Cronkite days of the media. They still hold on to, maybe they're not lying to us this time, kind of thing. But yes, they're still lying to us. The actual shutdown lasted 16 days, but the fear of default weakened the Republicans' position and forced them to back down without achieving their goals. And this happens repeatedly every time the threat of shutdown. But in actuality, Republicans win. Republicans win because the truth is on their side. If they just stand up, because they fear, I think, what happened during Reagan's administration, if I remember correctly. But after that shutdown, I think under Reagan, Republicans picked up many seats, if I remember correctly, because again, stand your ground, prove your case. The American people want to hear the truth. The American people want what's best for the country. They generally do. But if you don't even attempt to get your message out, attempt to stand your ground, your position, on principle, if nothing else, we have no other choice than choose the side of the one who's willing to fight. They must be right. And it doesn't matter if the media is the cheerleader. If the Republicans would act like Democrats and get everybody on message, so whenever there's a mic in front of any of the Republican members, they speak the same voice. That's what Democrats do, like the Borg, all on one message. Whenever one of the Democrats, at least the liberal Democrats in particular, get a mic in front of them, they're on point. They're on message. Why don't Republicans do that? That's the question you'd be asking. So the threat of economic collapse was scarier than the actual shutdown. Republicans were forced to retreat, fearing massive public backlash. Obama controlled the narrative, controlled the definitions of words that are used in the debate or discussion or verbal conflict. You're going to win. It's just that simple. And that goes back to 1984. Orwellianism. It's not anything new. So how did Biden use this? Biden used this, the fear of Trump's return in 2024 election strategy, painting Trump as a threat to democracy. Again, we know how that turned out. So as Biden gears up for 2024, his strategy includes framing Trump as an essential threat, warning that democracy itself is at risk if Trump wins, highlighting Trump's election denial and January 6 ties, suggesting that Trump will dismantle the democratic institutions. While Trump hasn't returned to power, the fear of what he might do keeps Democrats engaged and mobilized. This work, so-called, how did he use this rule? The idea of Trump's return is scarier than his current reality. Forces Republicans to constantly address accusations about democracy, keeps Democrat voters engaged and focused on 2024. But again, nobody was tossing pom-poms for Biden. Again, the strange thing about Democrats, they really don't care what the person is that's presenting their position. They just want their position, their agenda presented. If you notice that, like the guy in Philadelphia, he had a stroke, y'all. They had to wheel this man across the line. Democrats don't care. They do not. What's that? The girl from California. Can't think of the Senator Feinstein. She couldn't speak. Everybody knew she should have been put out the pasture a long time ago. But they were wheeling her, literally wheeling her into the chambers to vote. Democrats do not care. They care about their agenda. They don't care about necessarily personality, only that they can win. They do not care about how they get the victory. Hook or crook. They don't care. They have no moral scruples whatsoever. That's why they could actually run a candidate that only speaks about women issues and reproduction and transgender rights. Totally forget about anything economic. Totally forget about men and what we want. Totally forget about that. And they literally believe that strategy is a winning strategy. Let's run on reproductive rights. And then they mad as hell when they don't win. Oh my God. And then they say, no, it's not that the candidate ran a bad campaign. Then what could it be? You think running on reproductive rights is better than economics when people are hurting economically? It's always economics, stupid. Forget about that. Let's run on a man could be a girl and a girl could be a man, and a man can have a baby. Let's run on that. Yes. Nationally. Yeah, that's a good idea. Trump administration, the caravan invasion, fear tactic, 2018 midterms. For example, hyping the migrant caravan before the election. Before 2018 midterms, Trump warned a massive migrant caravan approaching the United States border, claimed it was full of criminals and terrorists, deployed military troops to the border, suggested an imminent crisis, even though the caravan was weeks away. The fear of invasion was more effective than the reality. The caravan eventually dispersed without incident, but the hype motivated Trump's base. This rule benefited Trump by the perceived threat of millions of invaders was scarier than the actual event. A few thousand asylum seekers. Media amplified the fear, forced Democrats to respond defensively. Help rally Trump's base, though it didn't prevent GOP losses in 2018. Because Trump is Trump and the GOP ain't. That was the case in 2018. That was the case in 2020. That was the case, is the case now. Trump speaks like he's not a politician, because he's not. The politicians don't like the fact that Trump speaks like he's not a politician, because they are. And many of the Republicans are literally Republicans in name only. And they wish Trump would just go away. And they're looking for that day where possibly his poll numbers sink below 50%, maybe 40%, where they don't even have to care to like him. That's what they really get, wishing that they get to real soon, or to get to the point where he's truly a lame duck. Because they don't want to imitate Trump. They don't want to carry his coattails. They don't want to bring his message to the people like Trump, the populist message, the America First message, because ain't no money in that to them. They must rather be Republican light and Democrat hard. That's just reality. So let's get to number 10. If you push a negative hard enough, it will push through and become positive. Now, why does that sound so familiar? Let me read that again. If you push a negative hard enough, it will push through and become positive. What does that sound like? Somebody, what about if you tell a lie enough times, it will eventually become the truth. We receive the truth. It's funny how that almost means like identical, right? One was a socialist, Nazi socialist, and this one was America Saul socialist, Saul Alinsky. Isn't it funny how that works out? It's just funny how that works out. So let's just say it this way. If you tell a lie enough times, you eventually be received as truth or accepted as truth. Let's just say it that way. This is cut to the chase, right? So violence from the other side can win the public to our side because public sympathizes with the underdog. Unions use this tactic. Peaceful, albeit loud, demonstrations during the heyday of unions in the early mid-20th century incurred management wrath, often in the form of violence that eventually brought public sympathy. Obama used this in the Race Divide in Ferguson protest 2014, using police brutality to shift the conversations to sympathetic racism. Of course, Obama and racism. That's all he did. 4 years. Before Obama, racism was not an issue in this country. Polls show that. During and after Obama, that's all we seem to talk about. Because he made it an issue. The so-called first African American. Actually, he was the first African American for president. Not the first black, the first African American U.S. president. That he was. Going to say, after the police killing of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, protests erupted across the country. Law enforcement responded with the militarized force using tear gas and armored vehicles. Obama administration and activists leveraged this response to shift focus to police brutality and systemic racism, push for criminal justice reform and body cameras for police, elevate Black Lives Matter, BLM, as a national movement. The protest started as a negative, riots, unrest, looting, but became a positive by sparking national conversations and policy changes. This was used very strategically, successfully, to say that the violent police response made public more sympathetic to protesters. Obama used the movement to push for police reform. Of course, police is the bad guy. Forget about the protesters burning down cities, but the police are the bad guy. He pushed for police reform while maintaining order. BLM movement gained legitimacy? Wonder how that happens. Shifting the debate from riots to justice. Democrats always do that. They did this when the left set Chicago ablaze, when Nixon was president. Remember that? Remember? Doesn't change. They did the same thing with the Klan. Right? And go on and on and on. But don't chase the spots. Biden used this by framing MAGA as an extremist threat, using MAGA rhetoric and threats to justify crackdowns. Biden administration worked to paint MAGA Republicans as dangerous extremists, highlighting threats against democracy, using January 6 election denial and conspiracy theories to justify stricter measures, positioning Biden as the protector of democracy against rising authoritarianism. If that is not calling the pot calling the kettle black. The protest started as a negative, riots, unrest, looting, but became a positive by sparking national conversations and policy changes. Why does that sound familiar? This rule was used to show MAGA's aggressive pushback threats rhetoric, reinforce Biden's case, use Trump's own words and actions to justify DOJ investigations and legal actions, create a contrast between Biden's stability and mega chaos heading into 2024. I guess they don't count Antifa and BLM. I guess they don't. Or arresting hundreds of people who happen to be at the Capitol for peaceful purposes. Or hey, how about arresting Christians just because they are voicing their displeasure with the killing of innocent babies in the womb? just arresting them and charging them with this obscene federal time. I guess they don't want to talk about that. Okay. How did Trump use number 10? The Trump administration used the January 6th backlash riot as an example. Hold on, let me get this out of the way. As an example, turning the Capitol riot into a rallying cry for its base. January 6, 2021, Trump supporters supposedly stormed the U.S. Capitol. Initially, this was widely condemned across the political spectrum. Over time, Trump and his allies pushed the narrative. Protesters were political prisoners. The FBI orchestrated the riot as an inside job. Ashley Babbitt, a rioter killed by police, was a martyr. While the event was initially a political disaster, it was reframed as a deep state crackdown on patriots inside Trump's base. This war benefited Trump. Instead of retreating, again, don't give ground. Don't give ground. Instead of Trump retreating, his allies embraced the event as a symbol. Negative event. The riot was reframed into a positive patriot resistance. Many Republicans rallied around this stolen election narrative, preventing Trump from being fully abandoned by the GOP because he pushed back. He didn't surrender ground. He told the truth. He made his argument. He brought facts. He brought receipts, if you will. And those two events are still being played out, because truth can only be held in the dark for so long. The light is going to be shown into it. And that's where we are. I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to say that the next two, the last two, because I'm going to wrap all this up and bring some more information in regards to how much Saul Alinsky, again, I say it again, totally reshaped the way politicians, particularly on the left, talk to the people, more so than 1984. Combine the two, you see, we really don't get the truth from politicians, particularly from on the left anymore. They use word speak, double speak, word manipulation, perception manipulation. And then you have outright lies positioned as truth. We must look at all of this. We must look at it all, particularly how the left talks to us, because it never tells the truth. They use our fears against us. They never come in the white hat. They always have something up their sleeve. But with the help of the media, they're able to win many of the occasions. And due to a flaccid Republican Party that has been infiltrated by Republicans in name only, because again, I always give this analogy. Republicans and Democrats are like the mother and the father of a child, us being the children. The Republican Party is the man, the father, the disciplinarian. You can't have cake for breakfast. you must do your homework. You must do your chores. You must earn your keep. You must act responsible. The female Democrat Party, the mother, you can have cake for breakfast. Just don't want to hear you cry. Let me kiss your boo-boo. Let me make sure you feel no pain. Let me make sure you don't have to work hard. Let me go talk to your boss to make sure you get the job. To explain to him what a lovely kid you are. That's how this comes out. And this is really how it's played out. That's why you see Republicans really taking it on the chin in many cases, because they are disciplinarian. No one wants to be this disciplinarian. No one likes a disciplinarian. But disciplinarian is the one that keeps the house safe, because they're always going to be the one to defend the house, to make sure that the children grow up with responsibilities and know what responsibilities are, and are better suited to be productive citizens, not knuckleheads, not raising girls to work on the pole, or boys to be on the couch talking to a shrink, or worse. That's how this is playing out. And the Republicans don't want to be the bad guy. They don't want to tell little Johnny, little Sally, you can't have cake for breakfast, because it's not good for you. That's why they win. And it's more money on the Democrat side. There's more money in making us sick through spiked up meat, and the pharmaceutical industry leading the charge in regards to our health. Not health prevention, but health care. There's more money in being bad. That's what it comes down to. And so Alinsky is taking advantage of that. So in the final production of this, I'm tie all this together, and I'll give you some idea on what it's going to look like moving forward. So next time, again, definitely do check out all my media sources. I'm on YouTube, more on Rumble. Of course, you got all the other social media platforms out there, Spotify, iTunes, all of those as well. When you see me, definitely do give me a thumbs up. Follow me. Definitely look for me on Twitter as well, under Tony L. Look forward to hearing from you. If you want to drop me a line, definitely do so at TonyL@project.iopen.com. That's project, the third spelled out, the letter I, open, ed.com. Till next time, be good, be blessed, and be free.
Thanks for listening to today's show. And don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast. And look for Project Third Eye Open on your favorite social media platforms. Check out our webpage at projectthirdeyeopen.com. And that's third eye with the letter I. projectthirdeyeopen.com. Or drop us a note at TonyEL@projectthirdeyeopen.com. That's TonyEL@projectthirdeyeopen.com. As you wait for our next podcast to drop, don't take anything we've said as fact. Instead, do your own homework, make up your own mind, then take action. Until next time. Be blessed, be good, and be free.